Hello, my loves. Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. January soul message. Holy cow. Are you breathing? Are you alive? Are you doing well? It is insane. The energies of the last the last week of December nearly took me out. Well, they kind of did take me out. And I've had to take a pause. I feel like the pause isn't even quite finished. But that's the energy that we're in anyways. So I'm popping in to finally record this message now so that you have it. And then I'm going to go back into the cave and feel into it and lean into it and walk this path with you. It is really nuts. So the January soul message is called Divine Perfection. And it is because we are talking about the energy that we're moving in here is the perfection that sits inside the imperfection. What is the message in the mess? The image that I was shown for this month, it's really interesting. I started writing this 2 weeks before Christmas, and then I didn't get a chance to record. And then, it got all off kilter because I came home and I just did not have it to record a message, and I needed to really be with some stuff that was shifting internally for me. But that's the essence. That's the sense that we're in right now is there's a mess and there's divine perfection happening. It's like side by side energy. I talked about this a little bit in the new moon ceremony on Sunday. This side by side, we had a full moon in Gemini at the end of December, and it's almost like that side by side Gemini dueling energy is still here with us. And I think it's about masculine, feminine finally starting to come into balance and come into relationship with each other. And this way that we have to own and honor the light and the dark, the grief and the joy, the pain and the change, the beauty, all of it, like that sits right next to each other inside of us. It's operating inside. And so it's about reclamation of both sides, right? So the divine perfection, it's all happening for you, not to you. That's kind of the general underlying message. There is perfection happening, even though it looks like everything is topsy-turvy and, it's a mess and whatever. So the image that I was shown for this month, and I tried to find it for, the image that I place on Instagram, but I couldn't find one quite exactly like it. So it was the corner of a crisp, clean table with a brand new, crisp, clean white tablecloth over the edge. And it's specified, the focus was on the corner of the table. And the reason for that is because there's a cutting, there's an exacting, there's a perfection, there's a cutting away, and yet there's perfection in it to where it's almost like we don't have to do anything. We just have to lean back, breathe in, let it all happen. And it's all happening in divine timing and divine perfection for us. The energy of this table, I talked about it in the blog, but the energy is like, the beginning of a day in a restaurant when everything is clean and ready to go, but the restaurant hasn't opened yet and there's no energy. There's nothing that has yet happened. It's the energy of, early morning after fresh snow and no one has walked on it and there's no trails and there's no tracks. And so there is also an essence of the dark night of the soul here. So a couple astrological pieces that are moving through. We are already in Venus retrograde that started at the end of December. That goes all the way through to the end of January. January 29th is when it goes back direct, and then it has an integration phase into February. And then we are getting ready to go we're already in the shadow phase of a Mercury retrograde. And that shifts over, goes retrograde on January 15. So you are talking about the planet Venus of relationships, harmony. Libra is ruled by Venus. So if you think about the scales of Libra, all of that happening, and then Mercury, the planet of communication, travel, connection, language, all of that. So both of those are going up for review. And I talked about this more extensively in the new moon the new moon ceremony in Capricorn on, what was it, January 2nd. That moon ceremony, if you have never been to one, that one was epic. It's available on my website, in my shop on Instagram. It's $11. You get the audio recording. You can listen to the whole thing. It was epic. I highly suggest it. But so you are talking, retrogrades always are this sense of disintegration to reintegration. It's everything. It's not even just the snow globe being shaken. It's an hourglass being flipped completely upside down. So it's everything. It's we're in the territory of looking at the scaffolding of our relationships, the foundation that our relationships live on, the things that you take for granted that are automatic in your way of communicating, in your way of relating, that you don't even think about. They're like baseline. And this is where it gets into kind of triggers, and I want to say trauma. That word has been coming up big time for me. Ancestral trauma that's so far down, when neural pathways get woven over and over and over again, the way that trauma or repetitive abuse, happens, when those neural pathways get woven, they're like grooves. And so we're like all the way down in the grooves. And Venus going into retrograde anyways is the story of Inanna going into the underworld. And there are 7 layers of the underworld that Inanna went down into. And at every layer, she has to release a jewel. She has to release a crown, earrings, necklace. It's everything. It's the things that she holds most dear and sacred that she has to let go of. And the journey into the underworld is also almost like a journey into perhaps sudden death. Like, you don't know when you're going into the underworld, you don't know if you're coming back out. That's part of the fear. You have to let go of everything that you hold near and dear so that you can be rebuilt and go back up. And you do, Inanna does receive the jewels back again as she goes up each layer, but they might look different. They might be completely transformed. They might be totally different gifts. So all of that is happening. It's a massive time. And then you also have the parallel, the sandwiching of the end of the year, the beginning of the year. And an old teacher of mine way back used to say, January isn't really the beginning of the year. February is the beginning of the year. And we need to look at, I think it's really helpful if you haven't thought about this for yourself. I think it's really helpful for transition, for alchemy, for change, to allow yourself to have at least January as a pause, as a breath, as a space between things. It's so popular to be like, oh, I'm going to do a New Year's resolution and it's time to hit the ground running and I'm going to go do something different. I'm going to completely transform my look or my work or my whatever, and no, it's not time for that. It's time for review of everything that happened the year before and thinking, do I like it? Am I happy with that? And then we're also in the retrograde of communication and relationships and going, do I like my relationships? Do I like how I'm communicating? Do I like how others are communicating? Do I want to show up differently? Do I want them to show up differently? Do I need to do a complete about face? So you get where I'm going. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest, which is what I've been in. Like this whole, it's almost like a friend of mine said today, like the sense of Tetris, like you're reorganizing and you have to be like in real time adjusting, okay, where am I going? What am I doing? But there's also a huge need for pause, more releasing than efforting. Let me just check my notes here real quick. Yeah, so anyways, meditation being a huge piece this month. I'll get into that in a second. Focus and clarity is what's important. As with all dark nights of the soul, there's a level of grief here because you're losing something. And it might be a part of yourself that you're losing. It might be the way that you have been. There is no way, after the amount of shift and change that we have been put through over the last 2 years, that you are the same person that you were maybe even a month ago. But certainly at the beginning of 2021. And there's all of that, which reminds me to bring in also, so 2022 is a year of 6. So 6 in sacred geometry is the hexagon. So 1 is the dot, 2 is the line, 3 is the triangle, 4 is a square. 5 is what 2021 was. So 2022 was a 4. That's 4 legs on the table. Things are getting more stable. We can see what we're doing. 2021 was a 5. That's sharing tools over the table. Now the table is kind of set and we're sharing things over the table. And then 2022 is a 6, which is a hexagon, which makes a circle. A circle makes a wheel, which means movement. So this year is about taking the lessons from the last couple of years, or, last forever, but last couple of years, and making change around them. There's alchemy, there's change, there's movement coming. And I find it really interesting that last year was the 5 and was the tools across the table. It's like the magician card in the tarot. You've got all the tools, but now you're trying to figure out how to use them, what to do with them, how to wield them, who you're going to partner with, all that kind of stuff. And then this year is like, okay, I've gotten some info and now I'm ready to act. And so I think it's interesting that I was shown this image of the corner of the table. It's exacting. There's edges. So there is some cutting out or cutting away. The cutting might be happening, to you rather than as it's always happening for you, but it's happening to you, meaning that I talked about this in the blog, like the way that a branch snaps off of the tree in the winter just because it's cold, just because it's winter, it's time to go. So it's not necessarily things that you have to get your sword out and cut and wield. You know what I'm saying? There's a level of it's happening organically, and that's the reason that the divine perfection came in as the title for this one. A huge amount of patience is required right now because, even just my Virgo Capricorn sensibilities are so pushed and stretched. Like that's another energy that's here is like really we're being stretched. Like think of, the animal skin being pulled over the hoop of a drum and how much work and tending that takes to do. And it's being pulled and stretched so that when it's pulled taut, it can, produce this beautiful vibration, this beautiful sound, because our resonance, our vibration is shifting and changing. And the reason, also for that, or you could say, it's kind of a chicken or egg thing, but when your resonance changes, you start calling in different things and different people. So that's part of what's happening too, is like our radio station is being upgraded. And I talked about this in the blog too. It's almost like there's a way, in some ways, that it's happening organically without any sense of work on our part, like a computer system, being upgraded in the middle of the night, and there's nothing that we even have to do. So there's a watching, there's a witnessing, but there's not necessarily like, oh, I have to be part of this cutting it out. So a couple things for this month to focus on. Routine practice, a daily thread, like the thread, think of the thread as the spinal column, and it's you're holding on to the center of yourself, right? So especially when you're in dark night of the soul territory, retrograde territory, white knuckling it territory, oh my God, everything's changing, I don't know what's going to happen. You want to hang on to a thread, and a thread can be routine. It's checking in with yourself. It's meditation practice. It's chanting practice. I'm doing 40 days right now of the throat chakra, which I didn't even realize when I started with Mercury retrograde. It's perfect for a communication upgrade. And then my 40 days, just organically on accident, but also not, ends on January 29th, the day that Venus goes back direct. So then I'm going to move into the heart chakra. And so then it's all about holding space for the heart to, do its thing and transform and integrate from Venus retrograde. So if you want to do it with me, I have recordings of all the chakra chants on my website in my shop as well. So that's happening. So routine practice, slow your roll, which is exactly what I had to do, and the stretching that I had to do for myself. It's so uncomfortable for me to not stay consistent. I usually get these messages out, a few days or even a week before the end of the month. And I have to get, that's just one of my things that's uncomfortable for me. I'm, got this Virgo, like, yeah, let's go do it. And so I had to get stretched there. So allowing space and time to let happen what is happening. And again, I'm going to say that again. allowing space to let happen what is already happening. It doesn't even have to, it's not being generated from you. If you think about it, I said this in the blog too, if you think about it, the major changes that have happened in your life have probably not been generated from you. They have been things that have happened or happened outside of you, and then the change that you made was adjusting to what is happening. Like I can say that about my own divorce to my first husband. It's that, you know, the information started coming in that like, oh, this isn't where I'm supposed to be anymore. And then my action that I took was in reaction to that thing, right? So it's really witnessing and paying attention territory. Slowing your roll, and then that was the last thing, is being the witness. Really paying attention. Where are you? What are you doing? You know, all of that. So with that, the oil of the month is clarity. If you, I think this was a free one that came in November. So if you ordered enough to get the free oils, you probably already have this. This is uncanny. I hadn't even smelled it, didn't know, just heard clarity. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go look. I think I might have that oil. It has an exacting, I mean, when I'm talking about this exacting, cutting away precision, this oil has that. It's like right up in, it's very precise. It's right into the third eye, into the mental plane. I'm going to read some of the ingredients so you can hear what this has. So bergamot is the energy of self-acceptance. It's also the energy of calling all the scattered parts back home. So again, with that thread. Ylang ylang is the energy of the inner child. Basil is the energy of renewal. Cardamom, the energy of objectivity. Peppermint is the buoyant heart, which, my God, do we need right now as we are being tender and graceful and accepting and loving of ourselves in the ways that we have perhaps gone against ourselves, have perhaps betrayed ourselves. You know, there's that energy in here too. Rosemary is the energy of knowledge and transition. Roman chamomile is the energy of spiritual purpose. Geranium is the energy of love and trust. And that's only some of the oils that are in this blend. So that's amazing. I forgot to bring down my chakra oils, which were all available on my site as well. And some of the ones that I suggested for new moon and that I'm still using is root chakra on the bottoms of the feet and on the wrists. You could do it even hip to hip to stay grounded in your body. The throat chakra all over the front of the throat, and then the heart chakra on the heart and all over the front of the lungs. The lungs are stored grief, and a lot of grief is coming up right now and being moved and changed. All right, let's do the card and let's see. I mean, I just can't even stand it. It's so much. I'm having to like deep breathing. And then what I'm noticing is when I tap in and I do that level of deep breathing, like tears will just come immediately. Is it 2? Okay, yeah, it's 2. Oh my God, I love it. Okay, I love it. It's actually 3 cards. It's actually 3 cards. Can you even stand it? And oh my God, this is really, really beautiful. Okay, are you ready for this? We have the womb. Okay, notice the triangle, downward facing triangle. It's the feminine in the star tetrahedron, which is the Star of David. We have the temple, the upward facing, the yin, the yang energy, the masculine pointing forward. So the temple, I mean, the womb is the temple. And what is it all arcing towards? The queen. Okay, so this is obviously going to be a long message because I'm going to have to read through all of these. This is absolutely amazing. So we have 2 places in the Kim Cran's archetype deck. There are people, places, tools, and initiation. So we have 2 places. And for the new moon in Capricorn, we had, or no, that was the full moon in Gemini at the end of December. We had the cave. Why now I'm not holding what we got for. Anyways, you can look it up. I put it, well, it's in the new moon ceremony, and I think I posted a story. It's probably gone by now. Okay, the temple, we'll get to that. I'm going to go in order of how they were pulled because that was really interesting how that came through. We're going to go with the womb. Okay, so the womb is first. The nest the belly, the origin. Oh my God, everything has an origin story, and we're in it right now. The womb archetype asks us to contemplate the beginning beyond the beginning, the mother beyond the mother. In a world that often negates the power and necessity of feminine principles, the queen, this card returns us to the warmth, tenderness, and sacred intelligence from which we came. It is a card of receiving, not achieving. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It's breathing, it's pulling back, it's witnessing. It is a card of receiving, not achieving, of accepting love from the mother of us all. She is the life-giving force that forgives and cherishes even the most wounded and disparate soul. No matter how lost you are, the womb awaits your return to help you heal and grow. That is exactly the trauma story that I'm talking about, the returning to the original trauma wounds and loving yourself back out of that. Seeing the trauma that happened to you as a child with adult eyes and loving yourself through it and walking yourself through it and reparenting yourself. The womb awaits your return. I said that to help you heal and grow. This card is a call to keep things simple, to return, to be reborn in the name of love. The womb is everywhere. It is beyond gender, beyond time. We are within it as it is within us. I'm going to tell you a funny short story because it says it's beyond gender. Okay. We just got a kitten a month ago. Apparently we've been misgendering our cat because the person that we got him from told us it was a girl. We've been calling her a girl. We named her Billy. Billy Eye Patch. She's got one black eye and, white face. And we were like, oh, and then it started, some details started coming forward. And we were like, I think this is a boy cat. And we just confirmed it a couple days ago at the vet. And, so it's just that. It's like, the perfection in the imperfection. It's the wisdom that's already there, but maybe you haven't seen it. So it's all of that. I just love it. When light, nourishment, harmony, warmth, love. When dark, stricken, ecological crisis, infertility, imbalance. To go deeper, Gustav Corbett's The Origin of the World. Consider that Mother Earth must also have a mother. Imagine her. What would honoring the feminine look like to you? Where would you begin? Imagining yourself as loved is a good place to start. So that's the whole inner child, loving yourself, reparenting yourself. Imagining yourself as loved is a good place to start. I want to add something to that. Can you let go of trying to be good? There's a whole, and it's generational, but it's also really focused on gender for girls. This idea, especially as you're growing up as a girl, of are you a good girl? Are you a good girl? We have got to kill that whole narrative. Because the idea of being a good girl means that you're pretty, you're quiet, you're subservient, you are caregiving everybody else and not staying home at yourself and, within yourself. And that, of course, is the womb. And then we move on to the temple, which is, of course, in the womb. The sanctuary, the shrine, the altar. When we think of the temple, we often envision an architectural structure in a far-off land. Did I not say that the scaffolding of our relationships, the structure of everything is being reordered? We are quick to distance ourselves from the sacred, assuming we must expend much effort in order to arrive there. Okay, so this is going away from efforting, and this is also going away from the idea of leaving ourselves. To be the good girl often means to leave yourself, to care for others first. And we're rewriting that whole narrative. We have to care for ourselves first. Let's see. We are quick to distance ourselves from the sacred, assuming we must expend much effort in order to arrive there. Yet the temple is a universal and omnipresent energy, accessible in the highest and lowest, richest and poorest of places. A friend of mine is sitting in the energy for January of the turtle. The turtle is, the energy of home while you're moving around, but you're always staying within your home, within the sacredness of your own temple. Visiting the temple might be as simple as stepping into the dappled light of the forest, slowly and sensuously kissing a lover, or closing your eyes to travel inward. This card is a call to re-examine what you pay homage to and what you reject. What do you spend your time worshiping? Your phone, money, material goods? What barriers do you draw between yourself and the sacred? Perhaps there is room on your altar for something new, something surprising. Offer it to the heavens. I have not done my annual card spread yet, but I will share it when I do. And there's a reel in my feed. I can reshare it in stories about how to do it if you want to do it with me. When light, reverence for all, life as sanctuary. When dark, idolatry, cults, strict spirituality, and to go deeper, now is the time by Hafiz. The ancient yogis saw the body itself as the temple. Every function and feature of it as an expression of divinity. Build a shrine with found materials. Don't spend any money, only time. Though, because there is this sense of like recalibrating our resources as well, what we value. Really getting down to the roots of what do you value and getting rid of everything else. Though indeed the temple travels with you, just like the turtle, this card is interwoven with the pilgrim archetype. If you've been longing for a spiritual journey, book your tickets. Okay, and lastly, we have the Queen, the Empress, the Mother Queen, the Sovereign. Like her counterpart, the King, the Queen. Oh, that's hilarious too, because we were calling our cat BB Queen, and now it's BB King. Like your counterpart, the King, the Queen has a dualistic nature. Either she presides over the realm of grace and eloquence that comes from the heavens to uplift the spirit of others, or she falls into petty, contemptuous moods, casting a shadow across the land. If the King is the ego, the Queen is the expression of that ego in the world. She is the lotus's bloom, the dancer's bow, the moon's radiant reflection. When the Queen is seated in her rightful and righteous place, she is patient and forgiving. She waits for the grace of God and Goddess to move through her, right? Just like that holding in the temple, witnessing, striving and grasping for nothing. To be the benevolent leader, to embody the Queen, is to settle into deep trust. That was the last line of my blog, was all we have to do is lean into trust. So the Queen is to settle, or to embody the Queen is to settle into deep trust, resolve, and power. The royal Queen fears nothing, for divinity itself cradles her heart. When light, the embodiment of grace, courage, resolve, stillness. When dark, vain, wrathful, self-righteous, demanding. To go deeper, Nikki Giovanni's Ego Tripping, Nina Simone's Singing Stars at the 1976 Montreux Jazz Festival. The Queen does not accept the hand of a prince, but claims the throne, knowing the king draws near. She is a magnet for the fully embodied masculine and entertains nothing less. Did you hear that? She is a magnet for the fully embodied masculine and entertains nothing else, because when the Queen is fully embodied in the center of herself, she is balanced in her masculine, feminine. She is using her masculine and she's drawing that towards her. And she's also going to draw towards her an integrated man that is also using both. Oh, this is too much. Read Cleopatra's monologue in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, Act 5, Scene 1. Then read about Inanna, Tara, and Hera, Inanna. The journey of the underworld, Venus. I mean, I can't believe it, folks. Okay, I'll take a picture of all three of these and post them in my stories or something. So we have the womb, the temple, and the Queen. It's too much. I can't take it in. All right. I love you all. Is there anything else I need to say? Full moon ceremony. Gosh, what is it? January 17, I want to say. I'll post it in stories at some point. If you want to do... if you're interested in moon ceremony, or if you're interested in doing individual healing sessions with me and you want to kind of touch in and see what the energy and the work feels like, there are guided meditation. There's only one guided meditation right now on my site. It's the 5 bodies meditation. And we also went through a very intense on steroids 5 bodies meditation in the new moon in Capricorn. That was just on January 2nd. So you can get that recording for only $11. But individual healing sessions are available, and I totally forgot what else I was saying about that, but we'll get there. All right, love you, mean it. Be gentle with yourselves. This is Wild West territory. I mean, we've been in it for, a couple of years, but we've really got to take time to integrate right now. This is a lot to take in, and breathe, breathe, breathe. I'm getting so much lung stuff up, grief, dry brushing, like frankincense underneath the armpits, like all the stuff, all the winter wellness things, the hydrotherapy in the shower, like all of those things, immune support, thieves, like all of that. Really stay on top of it, because we're in that terrain of like everything breaking down and being rebuilt, and you want to support your lymph system and all of it right now. Okay. Love you so much. Be in touch with questions, and I love you. I wish you well for the new year. Blessings. Namaste.